you waiting? Waiting for your life to finally change? For that opportunity to arrive? For the world to finally recognize your worth? I am here to tell you that your entire life of waiting has been based on a profound and tragic misunderstanding of power. You have been taught to be a fisherman, casting your nets into the vast ocean of circumstance, hoping to catch a fortune. But what if I told you that you are not the fisherman? You are the ocean itself. The next 90 minutes are not simply a lecture. They are an initiation. I will hand you the key to the one law that governs all creation, a law so powerful that it has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. But be warned, once you truly understand what I am about to share, you can never go back. You can never again claim to be a victim of fate or chance. Your old world, with all its excuses and limitations, will dissolve. So, I ask you, are you ready to stop waiting and start creating? Are you ready to become the architect of your own reality? If the answer is yes, then let us begin. I want you to cast aside, for this moment, everything you believe to be solid, everything you have been taught about cause and effect, and every limitation you have imposed upon your own life. We are not here tonight to learn a simple trick of the mind or a method for positive thinking. We are here to pull back the curtain on the very nature of reality itself. We are here to discuss the world's greatest secret. It is a secret that has been whispered down through the ages by mystics and prophets, a truth encoded in our most sacred texts, yet a secret that has been consistently and tragically overlooked by the vast majority of humanity. And the consequences of this oversight are written in the history of every life lived in quiet desperation, every dream deferred, every prayer that seemed to go unanswered. For centuries you have been taught to see the world as a great external force. You are a ship, and the world is the sea, sometimes calm, sometimes tempestuous, and you are, at best, a skillful navigator trying to weather its storm. You believe in a world of external causes. You are happy because of a promotion, sad because of a loss, successful because of luck or hard work, a failure because of circumstance. This entire worldview, my friends, is the great sleep of humanity. And tonight, we are here to awaken. The secret is this, and I want you to let it sink into the very marrow of your being. Consciousness is the only reality. Let me repeat that. For in these 5 words lies the key to absolute freedom and dominion over your life. Consciousness is the only reality. What does this mean? It means that the world you perceive around you, your physical body, your home, your relationships, your bank account, the very sky above you is not the cause of your experience. It is the effect. It is a shadow. It is an outpicturing, a projection on the screen of space of what you are and what you believe yourself to be in the depths of your own consciousness. Your life is a mirror. It can only reflect back to you the truth of who you believe you are. Most of you spend your lives shouting at the mirror, pleading with it, trying to force it to change the reflection. You see a sad face in the mirror, and you try to paint a smile on the glass. You see a poor man in the mirror, and you try to dress the reflection in fine clothes. But the mirror does not yield. It cannot. It has no will of its own. Its only loyalty is to faithfully reflect the object before it. The Great Awakening occurs the moment you stop trying to change the reflection and realize that you need only do one thing: smile. The moment you change the state of your own being, the mirror of your world has no choice but to reflect that change. Now, your rational mind, conditioned by a lifetime of looking outward, will immediately protest. It will say, "But Neville, this cannot be true. My circumstances are real. The lack in my bank account is a hard fact. The diagnosis from my doctor is a scientific fact. These things are solid. They are not shadows. And I do not deny these facts. They are indeed the solid, hardened reality of the world of Caesar. But what you have failed to understand is the difference between a fact and the truth. A fact is the current state of the shadow world, the harvest of your previous states of consciousness. But the truth is the law of creation itself. And that law states that your imagination is the one and only creative power. What you assume to be true in your imagination, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Therefore, you have a choice. You can give your loyalty to the world of facts, the dead world of effects, and remain trapped by them. Or you can turn your attention inward to the world of truth, the living world of cause, and begin to create a new set of facts. Let me share a story. A man came to me many years ago, a man who was the very picture of failure. His business was bankrupt, his health was failing, and his family life was in turmoil. He laid before me all the facts of his life, a mountain of evidence to prove that he was a victim of a cruel world. He said, "Neville, how can I deny these facts?" I told him, "You do not deny them. You simply defy them." I taught him this principle. I told him that night, and for every night after, to completely disregard the evidence of his senses. Instead of replaying the story of his failure before sleep, he was to enact a scene in his imagination that implied the complete fulfillment of his desires. He chose a simple scene, his wife embracing him, saying, "I have never been prouder of you, darling. Isn't it wonderful?" He did not imagine how his business recovered or his health returned. He went directly to the end. He felt the reality of his wife's pride, the feeling of success, the feeling of robust health, and he fell asleep wrapped in that glorious feeling. For weeks, the world of facts screamed at him. Creditors called. His body ached, but he persisted. He turned his back on Caesar's world and remained loyal to the reality within his own imagination. Then, slowly at first, and then with astonishing speed, the mirror began to change. An old acquaintance called with an unforeseen business proposition. A new doctor suggested a simple but overlooked treatment that revitalized him. His relationship with his wife, now bathed in his new inner state, transformed into one of love and admiration. Within a year, the man was more successful and happier than he had ever been in his life. Did he change the facts? No, he changed himself. He changed his consciousness, and the facts, being mere shadows, rearranged themselves to conform to the new reality he had birthed within. This is the power I speak of, the power of your own wonderful human imagination. Imagination is not, as you have been taught, a faculty for childish fantasy or idle daydreaming. Imagination is God in action. It is the very creative substance of the universe. Look around you. Everything that was ever made by man first existed as an idea, an image in the human imagination. The chair you sit in, the room you occupy, the city you live in, all were born in the mind before they were born into the world. There is no exception. You are constantly using this power every moment of every day. But most of humanity uses it unconsciously. You worry about the future, and in doing so, you use your imagination to create what you do not want. You replay old grievances, and in doing so, you use your imagination to perpetuate your sorrows. You are a master creator, but you have been creating your world in a state of sleep by default. The purpose of this teaching, the purpose of our entire time together, is to teach you to create your world consciously by design. It is to awaken you to the fact that you have two worlds you can inhabit. The world of Caesar, which is the world of effects, and the kingdom of heaven, which is the world within you, the world of cause. You have been living your entire life as a citizen of Caesar's world, bound by its laws and limitations. But your true citizenship is in the kingdom of heaven. It is from this inner kingdom that you issue your decrees, your assumptions, your feeling states, are the royal commands that your outer world, like a loyal servant, must obey. So, how do we begin this grand work? How do we start to build this empire of consciousness? We begin by understanding that we are not going to change the world. We are going to change our concept of self. You do not work on the outside. All work is done on the inside. This is why I call this journey a masterclass in becoming an architect of reality. An architect does not begin by laying bricks or pouring concrete. An architect begins with a vision, a blueprint. He sees the finished building in his mind's eye with absolute clarity and detail before a single shovel breaks the ground. Your imagination is your drawing board. Your desires are your blueprints. In the chapters that follow, I will give you the practical tools of your new trade. I will teach you the master key, the law of assumption, which is the science of impressing your subconscious mind with your desire. I will show you the paradoxical truth of the law of reverse effort and why all your desperate trying has only pushed your desires further away. I will give you the magical tool of revision, which will allow you to rewrite your past to create a new future. We will explore the meaning of the Sabbath, the divine art of letting go and resting in the knowledge that your creation is finished. And we will understand the true nature of action, distinguishing between the anxious forced movements of the sleeping man and the effortless inspired action of the awakened creator. But all of these tools rest upon the one unshakable foundation that you must accept here and now, that your consciousness is the only reality. You are not in the world is in you. The universe is not something you must struggle against. It is something you command from within. This is the greatest secret, because it bestows upon you the greatest power, but it also bestows upon you the greatest responsibility. Once you know this truth, you can never again blame another person, the government, your past, or God for the conditions of your life. The cause of your entire life, both the good and the bad, is you. It is your own state of consciousness. This may seem daunting, but I tell you, it is the most glorious news a man can ever hear. For if you are the cause of your misfortune, then you can, by that same power, be the cause of your glory. If you have been creating a prison for yourself unconsciously, you can, by that same power, consciously create a palace. The choice is yours in this moment and every moment that follows. Will you continue to live as a slave to the shadows, a creature of circumstance, or will you claim your birthright as a son of God, as a creator, as the architect of your own magnificent reality? The keys to the kingdom are being offered to you tonight. They are not made of gold or silver. They are the eternal laws of your own consciousness. Take them, use them, and build for yourself an empire, not of this world, but from which all worldly things are born. Let us now prepare to lay the first stone. In our introduction, we laid the great foundation upon which all else is built, that your consciousness is the one and only reality. We awaken to the truth that the world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the one who stands before it. Now, we shall learn how to consciously and deliberately change the face we present to that mirror. We move now from the what to the how, and the how is contained in a principle so simple that it is often overlooked, yet so powerful that it is the very mechanism of creation itself. I call it the law of assumption. This law is the master key that unlocks every door. It is the foundation upon which you will build your empire of consciousness, and from which your worldly empire must inevitably spring forth. But let us first be clear about what assumption is not. It is not the childish fancy of wishful thinking. It is not the hollow repetition of words and affirmations, while your heart remains convinced of lack. And it is certainly not the faint hope that if you think positive thoughts, the universe will somehow rearrange itself for you. Hope is a beggar. Hope confesses that you do not have, and you will continue to receive that which you confess. No, assumption is something far more profound, far more real. To assume is to claim in imagination that which you do not yet possess in the world of Caesar. It is to feel the reality of your wish as if it were already a physical, tangible fact. It is the art of occupying the state of the wish fulfilled. Think of an architect. He does not hope a building will appear. He first constructs it perfectly in his mind, in his imagination. He walks to its rooms, he feels its textures, he sees the light streaming through its windows. He knows every detail of the finished structure before a single stone is laid. His imaginal act is the cause, the true reality. The physical construction that follows is merely the inevitable shadow, the effect. You, my friends, are the architect of your life. The law of assumption is your divine drawing board. You may ask me, Neville, how can I build an empire when I possess nothing? When my senses deny the very existence of what I desire? And to that I say, you possess everything you need at this very moment. For the empire we speak of is not one of brick and mortar first, but one of feeling, of consciousness. It is conceived and nurtured in the womb of your imagination. Consider the great empires of history. Before they became physical realities, they existed as ideas, as visions, as assumptions in the minds of those who dared to dream. And so it is with your empire, be it an empire of wealth, of health, of love, or of creative expression. It must first be fully built and occupied in your imagination. When you practice the law of assumption, you are not pretending or deceiving yourself. No, you are aligning yourself with the one and only creative power. You are stepping into the shoes of the person who has already achieved what you desire. You are thinking their thoughts. You are feeling their emotions. You are carrying yourself with the unshakable confidence of one who has already succeeded. Let us make this practical. Suppose your desire is for greater financial security. The man who is asleep will look at his empty bank account and feel the state of lack. His world will then faithfully reflect more lack, but you, the awakened creator, will do something entirely different. You will ask yourself, what would the feeling be like if I were now financially secure? Do not ask how you became secure. The how is not your concern. Your only concern is the end, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What would that feeling be? Perhaps it would be a feeling of immense relief, a deep, quiet calm, knowing all your obligations are met. Perhaps it would be a feeling of freedom, of the ability to live generously. Find that feeling. Is it security? Is it joy? Is it peace? Isolate that precise feeling. Now, this is the great work. You must assume that feeling. You must wear it mentally as you would wear a coat. You do not struggle to put on a coat. You simply assume it. In the same way, you must now assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Let me share a story. A woman in my audience in New York was a gifted artist, but she struggled to sell her paintings. She lived in a state of anxiety, constantly worrying about her next sale. She was trying to be a successful artist, and so she was only ever experiencing the state of trying. I told her, tonight, stop trying to sell paintings. Instead, assume you are the most successful, celebrated artist you can imagine. I instructed her to create a simple scene in her imagination that implied this was already a fact. She decided on a scene of standing in a prestigious gallery, surrounded by people admiring her work. She did not see them buying. She simply heard a dear friend whisper in her ear, "Darling, I have never seen such a crowd at one of your shows. Isn't it wonderful?" She was to capture the feeling of that moment, the pride, the satisfaction, the quiet joy. She was to loop that short scene over and over in her mind as she drifted off to sleep, feeling its reality. She did this faithfully. Within 2 weeks, the owner of a gallery, who had previously rejected her work, called her out of the blue. He said he couldn't get one of her paintings out of his mind and wanted to feature it in an upcoming exhibition. That exhibition sold out and launched her career. She did not get successful by trying. She became successful by assuming. This is the power you hold. You do not wait for the external world to grant you permission to be the person you want to be. You crown yourself emperor in the kingdom of your own mind, and the world of Caesar, being only a shadow, has no choice but to reflect your royal decree. The most fertile ground for planting the seed of your assumption is the state I call the state akin, to sleep, or sats. This is that drowsy, meditative state just before you drift off to sleep. In this state, your conscious mind, the gatekeeper, who is so loyal to the evidence of your senses, begins to relax its guard. Your reason is suspended. In this moment, the veil to your subconscious mind is thin. The subconscious is the womb of creation. It is utterly impersonal. It does not judge whether your desire is good or bad. Like fertile soil, it accepts any seed you plant within it. Your feeling state is that seed. So, every night, without fail, you must perform this sacred imaginal act. Do not allow yourself to drift off to sleep, replaying the disappointments of the day. To do so is to plant weeds in your garden, ensuring you will harvest more disappointments tomorrow. Instead, you must consciously and deliberately create your scene. Make it short, make it vivid, and most importantly, make it imply the fulfillment of your desire. Do not see yourself getting the money. See what you would see after you have received it. Perhaps you are relaxing on a vacation you paid for with ease. Do not see yourself finding the partner. Feel the wedding ring on your finger, or hear them whispering your name. Go to the end. Feel the reality of this scene with every sense you can muster in your imagination. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you touch? Feel the emotion, the joy, the relief, the gratitude, until that feeling dominates your consciousness. Then, and only then, you release yourself into sleep. You have impregnated the subconscious. The seed has been planted. Your work is done. You must now allow it to gestate in the darkness, in silence, and in confidence. What you do in this drowsy state determines the world you will awaken to. You are literally shaping your tomorrow in the final moments of your today. Do not treat this act lightly. It is the most important, most creative moment of your day. But assumption is not merely a nightly ritual. You must learn to live from this state throughout your waking hours. This is what the scriptures mean by praying without ceasing. It does not mean mouthing words all day. It means living in the persistent assumption of the wish fulfilled. You must wear your new state of consciousness as you would wear your clothes. Throughout your day, ask yourself this question constantly. How would I be seeing the world if my wish were already fulfilled? If you were already the successful person you desire to be, how would you respond to the morning's mail? How would you speak to the cashier at the market? How would you walk down the street? You would not be walking in hope. You would be walking in the quiet confidence of knowing. If an apparent obstacle arises, you do not react from your old state of fear or limitation. You ask, how would the person I want to be handle this? And from that assumed state, a new wisdom, a new confidence, a new course of action will emerge. You are not pretending. You are acting from a higher level of yourself. You are being loyal to a reality that is not yet visible to the outer eye, but which is the only true reality. This, my friends, is the foundation of your empire. It is built not with struggle, but with feeling, not with effort, but with a disciplined, persistent assumption. You must choose this day which reality you will serve. Will you serve the dead world of facts that your senses report? Or will you serve the living, creative world of your own imagination? I tell you, your imagination is the true and living God. There is no other. Place your faith entirely in this power within you. Assume you are the man, the woman you desire to be. Walk in that assumption as though it were already true. And I promise you, the walls of your personal Jericho will crumble, and you will enter the promised land of your fulfilled desire. For that is the law. And the law never fails. In our last discussion, we laid the great cornerstone, the law of assumption. We learned that to create our world, we must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now that you have been given this master key, I must teach you how not to use it. I must warn you of a subtle but powerful adversary that can render this key useless. This adversary is an idea that has been so deeply ingrained in the consciousness of humanity that it is accepted as virtue. I speak of the idea of effort. In your world, you have been taught to worship at the altar of struggle. You have been told that sweat and strain are the hallmarks of noble character, that success is the prize awarded only after a long and arduous battle. You are taught to try again. The world tells you to push harder, to fight more fiercely, to compete more intensely. And so you spend your lives in a state of perpetual striving, believing that your salvation lies just beyond the next mountain of effort. But I am here tonight to tell you that this belief is the great deception. It is the very chain that keeps you bound to the circumstances you wish to escape. I am here to share with you a principle that I know to be true, not as theory, but as a law I have proven countless times in the laboratory of my own life and have seen proven by thousands who have applied it. The principle is this: the more you try to get something, the more you push it away. This is the law of reverse effort, and it operates with the same mathematical precision as the law of gravity. The very act of trying is a confession that you do not have. And as long as you are confessing that you do not have something, the mirror of your world can only reflect back to you the state of not having. Let us examine the anatomy of trying. Think about it for a moment in your own life. When you lie in bed at night, unable to sleep, what happens when you try to force yourself to sleep? Does sleep come? No. The harder you try, the more tense your body becomes, the more active your mind becomes, and the further sleep recedes from you. It is only when you give up trying, when you let go and assume the feeling of peaceful rest, that sleep comes effortlessly to claim you. When you are searching for a forgotten name, what happens when you strain your memory, when you try to recall it? It remains stubbornly out of reach. But the moment you stop trying, the moment you relax your mind and turn your attention to something else, the name floats effortlessly into your consciousness. This is a secret I am sharing with you tonight, a secret of immense power. Trying implies friction. It implies a battle. It implies that there is a power outside of yourself that you must overcome. And this is the fundamental error. There is no power outside of your own consciousness. The great error of humanity is that they are trying to get what they already possess. The very moment you have a desire, that which you desire already exists. It exists as a reality within your own imagination. It is already yours in the spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm is the one and only cause. The physical realm is but the effect. You are trying to achieve on the outside what you have not yet accepted on the inside. Let us turn to Scripture, for as I have told you, the Bible is not a historical document, but the greatest psychological drama ever written. In the book of Matthew, you are given the most profound instruction for creation. It is written, "Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." I want you to pay careful attention to the tense used here. It does not say, "Believe that you will receive it." To believe you will receive is to confess that you do not yet have it. It places your desire forever in the future. The command is to believe that you have in the past tense received it. This is a command to perform an act of assumption. It is an instruction to shift your consciousness from a state of wanting to a state of having. Your prayer is answered not when the physical object appears, but the moment you successfully assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The prayer is your assumption. To pray successfully is not to beg a distant God, but to claim your desire within your own consciousness. Consider the story of the Israelites. For 40 years they tried to enter the promised land. They wandered in the wilderness, a perfect metaphor for the mind of a man who is struggling, doubting, and trying to force his way to his goal. 40 years of effort, of struggle, and of failure. But how did they finally enter? When did the walls of Jericho, the great seeming obstacles, fall? The walls fell after they followed the instruction to be still, to cease their striving, and to simply encircle the city in silence and then shout in praise. Their shout was not a shout of battle, it was a shout of victory. They were praising the Lord for a victory already given. They were feeling the reality of the wish fulfilled. And in that moment of assumption, the walls, which were only the hardened manifestation of their own doubts and fears, collapsed. This is your story. Your desire is your promised land, and your trying is your wilderness wandering. You can wander for 40 years, trying to break down the walls of your problems through effort, or you can, this very night, assume the feeling of being in your promised land and watch the walls crumble before you. The world teaches you to act through force. I am teaching you to act through faith, and faith is nothing more than your loyalty to your unseen assumption. Let me tell you of a man who came to one of my lectures in San Francisco. He was a brilliant salesman, but he was in a slump. He told me, "Neville, I am trying everything. I am making more calls. I am working longer hours. I am studying every sales technique, but the harder I try, the worse my results get. I feel a terrible tension in me all day." He was a perfect example of this law. His desperate trying was a constant confession of his failure, and so his world could only show him more failure. I told him, "Tonight, you will not try to sell anything. You will not even think about how to sell. Tonight, you will do one thing. You will assume the feeling of a master salesman at the top of his game." I asked him, "What would the feeling be like if you had just had the most successful month of your career?" He said, "It would be a feeling of profound satisfaction and relief." I said, "That is your prayer. Go home and do not beg God for success. Assume the feeling of success. Create a simple scene that implies it is done. Perhaps you are looking at your sales figures and you hear your manager congratulating you. Feel the handshake. Hear the words, "Incredible job. You've broken the all-time record." Feel the satisfaction and relief and fall asleep in that feeling. He was skeptical, but he was also desperate, so he did it. He told me it was the first night in months he slept peacefully. He did it the next night and the next. He stopped trying to get sales. Instead, during the day, he simply walked in the assumption that he was a master salesman. A funny thing happened. The tension left him. He no longer felt desperate on his calls. He spoke to clients not as someone trying to get a sale, but as an expert confidently offering a solution. And the sales began to flow in with an ease he had never known. By the end of the month, he had indeed broken his company's sales record. He did not achieve it by trying harder. He achieved it by being different. You see, the universe cannot give you what you want. It can only give you what you are. As long as you are conscious of trying to get something, you are being someone who lacks that thing. The universe, in its perfect loyalty, must give you more of the experience of lacking. But when you, through a disciplined act of imagination, assume the consciousness of having it, you become someone who has it, and the universe must respond accordingly. It must objectify that new state of consciousness in your world. This is why Scripture tells us, "To him who has, more will be given, and from him who has not, even what he thinks he has will be taken away." This is not a cruel declaration about worldly wealth. It is a profound statement of the law of consciousness. He who has in consciousness will be given more in his outer world. He who has not in consciousness will see even his hopes and dreams taken away. So, how do you move from the state of trying to the state of being? You do it by ceasing all mental effort. You stop looking outside of yourself for the cause. You turn your attention inward, and you ask yourself, who do I want to be? Once you have defined that state, you dare to assume that you are already it. You do not try to become that person. You accept that you are that person now, and you walk in that assumption. You think from that assumption. You feel from that assumption. And the world, which is nothing more than yourself pushed out, will begin to confirm your new identity. The great secret is this: the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the very feeling that seals its fulfillment. The more you try to get it, the more you affirm its absence. But when you live in the end, when you possess it in consciousness, the trying ceases and the having begins. This is the divine paradox. Your desire will not be fulfilled by a great act of will or a heroic struggle. It will be fulfilled by an act of surrender, a surrender of your old self, and a surrender to the feeling of your wish already being a fact. This is the stillness that Scripture commands. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not physical laziness. It is the stillness of your mind, the cessation of all anxious effort. And in that stillness, you come to know a truth. What is that truth? I am God. The name of God throughout the Bible is I am. That is your own consciousness. Your awareness of being is God. So, be still and know that your own consciousness is God, the one and only creative power. As we conclude tonight's discussion, I want you to grasp this fundamental truth. Everything you desire desires you. Everything you want wants you. But as long as you try to get it, you create a barrier of resistance. The moment you assume you have it, all resistance dissolves and it rushes into your world to embrace you. Tonight, I dare you to stop trying. Dare to assume you are what you want to be. Dare to assume you have what you want to have. Do not try to make it happen. Simply know that it is already done. Live from that assumption, and I promise you, you will witness a miracle. Not a miracle that violates the laws of nature, but the miracle of the law of your own being, perfectly expressed. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being and having, you must become and have. The world is yourself pushed out. Change your concept of yourself, and you will change your world. Stop trying to get it, and you will have it. This is the law. And there is no other way under heaven by which anything is accomplished. We have established the foundation that your consciousness is the only reality. We have learned the master key, the law of assumption, and we have understood the great paradox that all anxious effort pushes our desires away. Now we come to a principle that many find to be the most startling, the most radical, and yet the most liberating of all. We come to the art of revision. Look at your life. How many of you feel that you are a product of your past? You are haunted by the ghosts of yesterday. Memories of failure, words of unkindness, moments of deep regret, missed opportunities. You carry these memories like chains, allowing them to define who you are today and to dictate the limits of who you can be tomorrow. You believe your past is a fixed, unalterable fact, a permanent scar on the fabric of your being. Tonight, I am here to tell you that this belief is an illusion. Your past has no power over you unless you grant it that power. For I will show you that your past is not fixed. It is not finished. It is as malleable as clay in the hands of a potter. And you, my friends, are the potter. To understand this, you must first grasp the true nature of time. Your senses suggest that time is a straight line, moving irrevocably from a dead past to a fleeting present into an unborn future. This is the illusion of Caesar's world. The truth The reality of the kingdom of heaven within you is that there is only one moment, the eternal now. Your past does not exist anywhere in the world except in your own imagination, right now. A memory is not a recording of a finished event. It is an imaginal act that you are performing in the present moment. When you remember a failure, you are not looking back in time. You are recreating that failure. You are reenacting that scene within your own consciousness now. And because your imagination is the one and only creative power, as you recreate that failure in your mind, you are condemning yourself to repeat it in your future. But if the past is only an imaginal act happening now, does it not stand to reason that you can perform a different imaginal act? This is the power and the promise of revision. Revision is the act of consciously rewriting a memory to align with your ideal. It is the art of going back to a moment in time and changing it, not in the external world, but in the only place it has ever truly existed, your imagination. Let us discuss the technique, for this is a profoundly practical art. I call it the divine pruning shear. Just as a gardener prunes the dead or diseased branches from a plant to ensure a healthy and beautiful bloom, you must prune the dead and unwanted scenes from your day. Never let the sun set on your anger, on your disappointment, on any moment that was less than ideal. Here is the practice. Every night, just before you enter the state akin to sleep, review your day. Do not review it as a passive observer, but as the author of a great play. Look at the scenes that unfolded. Did you have an unpleasant conversation? Did you receive disappointing news? Did you feel a pang of fear or anxiety? Did you miss an opportunity? Do not judge these moments. Simply observe them as scenes that were poorly written or poorly acted. Now, you will rewrite them. Take the first unpleasant scene in your imagination. Reconstruct it. But this time, rewrite the script. If unkind words were spoken, hear loving and harmonious words instead. If you receive bad news, imagine receiving wonderful news. If you felt fear, feel confidence. If you were clumsy, imagine yourself acting with grace and wisdom. You must not see this revised scene as an observer watching a screen. You must enter the scene from a first-person perspective. You must truly reenact it. Feel the handshake. Hear the revised words in your own ears. Feel the smile forming on your own lips. Persist in this revised scene, looping it over and over until it takes on the vivid tones of reality. Feel the emotion that the new scene would naturally evoke, the relief, the joy, the satisfaction. Then drop it. Move on to the next scene of the day that you wish to prune, and do the same. When you have reshaped your entire day into a thing of beauty, a sequence of events that brings you only joy and fulfillment, you then fall asleep in the glorious feeling that this revised day was the true day. You may ask, but Neville, how can changing an imaginary scene alter what has already happened? I tell you, it does not alter what seemed to happen in the shadow world. It alters the cause of what is to come. The events of your day are the children of your state of consciousness. By revising a negative event, you are retroactively changing the state that produced it. You are destroying the cause of similar unpleasant events in your future. You are planting a new seed, and tomorrow's harvest will be different. This, my friends, is the true meaning of the biblical concept of the forgiveness of sin. You have been taught that sin is the breaking of a moral code. But the original meaning of the word sin, in both Aramaic and Greek, was simply to miss the mark. It is an archer's term. To sin is to aim for a target and to miss. The consequences of your life are the result of where your arrows of attention and feeling have landed. To forgive sin, therefore, is not to be pardoned by an external God for a moral transgression. To forgive sin is to correct your aim. Revision is the ultimate act of forgiveness. You look at a moment where you missed the mark, where the outcome was not what you desired, and you go back in imagination and you re-aim. You refire the arrow. You hit the bullseye. In doing this, you are not excused from the consequence. You have erased the consequence because you have destroyed the cause. This is a redemption you perform for yourself, within yourself. Let me tell you a story. A woman came to my lectures who had a very difficult relationship with her daughter. They had not spoken in months after a bitter argument. The mother was heartbroken. I taught her the art of revision. I told her, do not call your daughter. Do not write to her. The work is not to be done on the outside. Go within. Every night, she revised that final, painful phone call. In her memory, the conversation was filled with accusations and anger. In her revised imaginal act, she heard her daughter's voice filled with love and understanding. She heard herself responding with wisdom and compassion. She constructed a short, revised scene where her daughter said, "Mother, I love you so much. I'm so glad we had this talk." She felt the warmth and relief of that loving reconciliation. She looped this scene, feeling its reality, night after night. After about 3 weeks of this inner work, she received a letter. It was from her daughter. The letter was filled with love and regret, and it mirrored, almost word for word, the loving sentiment she had been imagining. A real-world reconciliation followed, and their relationship became more harmonious than it had ever been. She did not change her daughter. She changed the memory within herself, and the world, which is a mirror, had to reflect that change. But revision is not just for correcting the small irritations of the day, or even healing relationships. Its power is limitless. You can go back and revise any moment of your life. Are you haunted by a business failure from 20 years ago that still whispers doubts in your ear? Go back and revise it. Imagine that venture succeeding beyond your wildest dreams. Feel the pride. Feel the accomplishment. Persist in that feeling, and you will dissolve the fear that is limiting your success today. Did you suffer an accident? Go back to the moment before it happened and revise the scene. Imagine yourself walking past that spot safely. I have received countless letters from people who have used this technique to inexplicably hasten their physical healing. Why? Because the body is only the projection of consciousness. When you remove the imaginal cause of the injury, the physical effect is altered. You see, what you are truly doing is building a new past for yourself. You are creating a foundation of noble memories. Imagine the person you would be if you had a past filled only with success, love, and accomplishment. How confident would you be? How fearless? You can become that person by systematically revising your yesterday. This is the ultimate act of creative responsibility. An unrevised life is a life lived by accident, constantly at the mercy of unconscious creations. A revised life is a life lived by design. You become the author and the editor of your life story. You ensure that every chapter, every page, every line contributes to the magnificent masterpiece you wish to create. So I urge you, do not take this teaching lightly. Make it your daily practice. Just as you wash your body, you must wash your mind of the negative impressions of the day. Prune your vine daily, and you will find your life blossoming in the most miraculous ways. You will cease to perpetuate your own misfortunes. You will stop feeding the monsters of your past. By building a noble past, you are providing a firm foundation for the glorious present you are claiming through assumption. The two work together. You assume the state of your wish fulfilled now, and you revise the past to make it congruent with that assumption. You become, in consciousness, a person for whom success, health, and happiness are the only natural outcome, because your past is a story of nothing but success, health, and happiness. This is not about escaping your life. It is about redeeming it. It is about taking the tangled threads of your past and reweaving them into a beautiful tapestry. You are the author, the editor, and the weaver. The power is in your hand. Use it, and you will discover that you are not a creature of circumstance, but the creator of it. You are not a victim of your past, but the master of it. And in mastering your past, you set yourself completely and utterly free. What you have just learned is not a mere psychological trick. It is the divine art of redemption, the true forgiveness of sins. It is your power to reshape your past to create a new present. This is but one of the profound truths we are exploring in our journey together. If you are feeling a shift within you, a recognition of the power you have always possessed, then I invite you to continue this awakening. Subscribe to this channel and ensure you do not miss the revelations that are yet to come. For each principle builds upon the last, leading you to the ultimate state of mastery. Now, let us journey onward into the sacred stillness of the Sabbath. In our journey together thus far, we have scaled the great peaks of creation. We have established that your consciousness is the only reality. You have been given the master key, the law of assumption, and you have been handed the divine pruning shears of revision to create a noble past. Now, having performed this great work in your imagination, you stand at a precipice. Your imaginal act is complete. The seed has been planted, and it is at this very moment that you face the most subtle and powerful test of your faith. It is the temptation to interfere. Your rational mind, your senses, and every lesson the world of Caesar has taught you will scream in unison, now you must do something. You must work for it. You must make it happen. The ego, which thrives on struggle and control, will urge you to dig up the seed to see if it is growing. It will tell you that your inner work was mere fantasy and that the real work must now be done in the external world. I am here tonight to tell you that this urge is the final illusion, the last ghost you must lay to rest. For after the creative act is successfully performed, there is nothing more to do. The next required step is a state of being, not a state of doing. It is a mystical state of rest, a divine art of non-interference which the ancients called the Sabbath. Let us explore this profound mystery. You have been taught that the Sabbath is the seventh day of the week, a day of physical rest. But like all things in Scripture, this is a parable, a psychological truth veiled in the language of story. The story of creation in the book of Genesis is your story. It is the blueprint of every creative act you will ever perform. For 6 days it is said that God labored. These are not days of 24 hours. They represent the subjective period of time it takes for you to successfully perform your creative work in consciousness. It is the labor of controlling your attention, of crafting your imaginal scene, of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it takes on the tones of reality. This is the 6 days of mental labor. And what happened on the seventh day? It is said that God rested. Now I ask you, did the infinite creator of all things rest because he was tired? Of course not. He rested for one reason and one reason only, because the work was finished. Creation was complete. It was perfect. There was nothing to add and nothing to take away. This, my friends, is the Sabbath. It is not a day on your calendar. It is a state of consciousness. The Sabbath is a mental state of rest, a stillness of the mind that follows a successful imaginal act. It is a state of profound peace and trust, born from the inner knowing that it is done. When you have truly and successfully assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you will automatically enter the Sabbath. You will feel a sense of quiet relief. The desperate hunger for your desire will vanish, not because you have given up, but because in consciousness you have already received it. This is the great test. Can you remain in this state of mental rest, even while the mirror of your world still reflects the old reality? Can you keep the Sabbath? Let us be very clear, for there is a world of difference between this divine rest and the state of anxious passive waiting. Anxious waiting is not the Sabbath. Anxious waiting is a state of doubt. When you are anxiously waiting, you are constantly looking for signs. You are checking for results. You are on the edge of your seat. wondering if it will happen, wondering when it will happen. This state of anxious tension is a confession that the work is not finished, that you are not truly convinced of the reality of your imaginal act. And so, the world will reflect back to you more reasons to wait and to be anxious. The true Sabbath is a state of confident repose. Think of a wise farmer. He prepares his soil, he plants the seed, and he waters it. Then he rests. He does not go out every hour and dig up the seed to see if it is sprouting. To do so would be an act of foolishness and would destroy the crop. He rests in the calm, confident knowledge that he has done his part and that the infallible laws of nature will now do theirs. He trusts the process. He trusts the seed. He trusts the soil. Your subconscious mind is that fertile soil. Your desire impressed upon it through feeling is that seed. The laws of consciousness are as infallible as the laws of nature. Once the seed is planted, you must trust it to the darkness. You must leave it alone. You must keep the Sabbath. Let me tell you of a man in my audience who was an inventor. He had conceived of a brilliant new device, and in his imagination, he had seen it being manufactured and sold worldwide. He felt the reality of his success. He had planted the seed. But then he fell from this state. He grew anxious. He began to interfere. He called potential investors with a desperate energy that they could feel, and they turned him away. He tried to rush the patent process and made costly errors. He pushed his engineers with such frantic tension that their work became sloppy. His project, which was so perfect in imagination, was crumbling in the world of Caesar because he could not keep the Sabbath. He came to me in despair. I told him, "You have planted a perfect seed, and now you are trampling all over the garden. Go home, do no more. Make no more phone calls. Speak to no one about your invention. Simply return to the feeling of its completion. Enter the Sabbath and stay there." It was the hardest thing he had ever had to do. The urge to do something was immense, but he disciplined himself. For 1 week, he did nothing on the outside. On the inside, he simply walked in the quiet confidence of a man whose brilliant invention was already a worldwide success. He rested. At the end of that week, one of the investors who had previously rejected him called him back. The investor said, "I don't know why, but I can't get your idea out of my head. There was something about your initial confidence. Let's meet." From that meeting, everything unfolded in the most harmonious and miraculous way. He did not succeed by doing more. He succeeded by doing nothing, by resting in the faith of his finished creation. How do you know if you have truly entered the Sabbath? There are signs, symptoms of this divine state. The first and most important is a feeling of relief. The tension is gone. The anxious, gnawing hunger for the thing has been satisfied in spirit. The second sign is a loss of urgency. When you know something is yours, you do not feel impatient. Impatience is a form of doubt. When you truly assume something is yours, you develop a deep trust in what I call the appointed hour. You know that events will unfold in the perfect time and in the most perfect way. The third sign is a sense of naturalness. The desire no longer feels like a great world-shaking miracle. It feels normal, natural. It feels as though it has always been a part of your world, and its appearance in the physical realm is simply a matter of course. When you are in the Sabbath, you can go about your daily life and your attention is free to focus on other things, because that one thing is settled. It is done. You've placed your order with the universe, and you have complete trust that it will be delivered. This is the true meaning of letting go. It does not mean apathy or forgetting your desire. It means releasing the burden of making it happen. You have performed the creative act, the most important act. Now you release the how, the when, and the where. to the infinite wisdom and power of your deeper self, your subconscious mind. Your conscious reasoning mind cannot possibly conceive of the intricate bridge of incidents that will be constructed to bring your desire into being. To try and plan it all out is the height of arrogance. Your only duty is to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled and trust. Think of it this way. You write a letter containing a message or a request. You fold it, place it in an envelope, and put it in the mail. Once it is in the mailbox, do you worry about it? Do you fret about the path the mail truck will take, or the sorting process at the post office? No. You have released it. You have let it go. You trust the system. Your imaginal act is the writing of the letter. The state akin to sleep is the divine mailbox. Once you have dropped that letter into the mailbox of your subconscious, you must trust the infallible system of your own consciousness to deliver it. This is the stillness that creates worlds. True power does not reside in frantic motion, but in the confident stillness that follows a completed imaginal act. It is in this womb of silence, this mental Sabbath, that the seed you have planted germinates and grows, unseen at first, but inevitably pushing its way up into the world of light, into the world of physical form. So I ask you to examine yourselves. After you perform your imaginal act, what do you do? Do you immediately begin to worry? Do you look for signs? Do you feel the need to tell everyone to seek their validation? Or can you keep your own counsel? Can you walk in the quiet, secret knowledge that your prayer is already answered? Learn to keep the Sabbath, and you will learn the art of living. You will cease to be a frantic magician, desperately trying to manipulate the shadows on the wall. You will become the serene creator who knows that the work is done within, and that the world has no choice but to bear witness to it. Rest in this knowledge, for in this divine stillness, you are not inactive. You are allowing the one and only creative power to work unimpeded on your behalf. We have journeyed far into the inner kingdom. We have learned that our consciousness is the one and only reality. We have taken up the master key of assumption, the divine editor's tool of revision, and we have learned to rest in the sacred stillness of the Sabbath, knowing that our creative act is finished. And now, inevitably, the question arises from the depths of your being, a question conditioned by a lifetime spent in Caesar's world. Neville, what must I do now? If I am to simply imagine my desire and rest in the feeling of its fulfillment, does this mean I am to become passive? Do I sit in a room and wait for my fortune to fall from the sky? It is a natural question, and I am here tonight to answer it fully. For if you misunderstand the nature of action, you can, with the best of intentions, undo the perfect work you have done within. Let me state it plainly, I am not teaching a philosophy of inaction. You will indeed act, but the action you take will be of a completely different nature from the action you have known before. We must learn to distinguish between two kinds of movement. The anxious striving of the sleeping man, which I call forced action, and the graceful, effortless unfolding of the awakened creator, which is inspired action. First, let us dissect the anatomy of forced action, for this is the only kind of action most of humanity has ever known. Forced action is born from a state of lack. It is rooted in the terrifying belief that you are separate from your desire and that you must, through brute force, struggle, and clever manipulation, bridge the gap. Forced action is the sweat on the brow of the man who believes he is a victim of circumstance. It is the tense, anxious energy of a salesman who is trying to get a sale rather than simply being the man who is successful. It feels like swimming against a powerful current. It is effortful, draining, and filled with the constant nagging question, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? The man engaged in forced action is always looking to the external world for confirmation, for a sign that his struggle is paying off. He is a slave to results, and so he finds himself in a state of perpetual anxiety. This is the action of the world. It is the hustle and the grind you are taught to glorify. But I tell you, this kind of action is the movement of a sleepwalker. It is an effect of doubt, not a cause of success. It is the frantic polishing of the mirror in an attempt to change the reflection. It cannot, and it will not, bring you what you truly desire, for its very nature confesses that you do not have it. Now, let us turn our attention to the sublime and beautiful nature of inspired action. Inspired action is something entirely different. Its root is not in lack, but in fulfillment. Inspired action is the natural, automatic outflow of a state of consciousness that has already been assumed. It is the action you take not to get your desire, but because you are already being the person who has it. It does not feel like work. It feels natural, easy, and often surprisingly simple. It is a gentle nudge, a sudden hunch, an inexplicable urge to go here, to call him, to write that. It is the movement of a man swimming with the current, carried effortlessly toward his destination. Think of a bird building its nest. The bird does not study architectural plans. It does not struggle or strain. It does not try to build a nest. It simply follows an inner divine pattern. Its actions are the effortless expression of its state of being. It acts because it is a nest builder. This is how your action must be. When you have successfully assumed the feeling of your wish fulfilled and entered the Sabbath state, you have planted the seed. You have defined the pattern. Now you will find yourself moved to act. But these actions are not the cause of your success. They are part of the effect. They are the means by which the seed you planted begins to sprout in the world of Caesar. This is what I call the bridge of incidents. After you perform your imaginal act, your subconscious mind, that infinite wisdom within you, begins to construct a series of events, a bridge to lead you from your present moment to the physical fulfillment of your desire. This bridge is made of what you will call coincidences, natural encounters, and these very inspired actions. Your job is not to plan the bridge or to engineer it. Your only job is to walk across it, one step at a time, as it appears before you. Let me tell you a story to make this clear. I had a student, a woman, who deeply desired to travel to Paris. She had no money and saw no way it could happen. The facts of her life made the desire seem absurd. I taught her these principles. Every night she fell asleep in Paris. In her imagination, she was not on a plane going to Paris. She was already there. She constructed a simple scene of sitting at a small cafe, feeling the warmth of the sun, hearing the sounds of the city, and holding a ticket stub for the Louvre in her hand. She felt the reality of it. She assumed the state of one who has been to Paris. Then she entered the Sabbath. She dropped it. She did not apply for loan. She did not desperately search for cheap flights. She rested in the knowledge that it was done. About a week later, she was at a party she had not planned on attending. She had an urge to go at the last minute. While there, she struck up a conversation with a stranger. In passing, the woman mentioned that her employer was looking for a temporary assistant for a 2-week conference in Paris the following month, all expenses paid. My student, without hesitation, knew this was her bridge. She inquired, and because she spoke from a state of quiet confidence, the state of one who was already going to Paris, she was offered the position the next day. Do you see? Her action was not to try to get to Paris. Her inspired action was to follow a simple urge to go to a party. The bridge appeared, and she simply walked across it. Had she been in her old state of lack, she might have dismissed the urge, or she might have approached the stranger with a desperate energy that would have repelled the offer. But because she was living from the end, her action was natural, effortless, and perfectly effective. You will come to recognize inspired action by its feeling tone. It will not be accompanied by anxiety. There will be a sense of rightness about it, a feeling of natural unfolding. It might be an urge to forgive someone you have held a grudge against for years. It might be a sudden idea to clean out a closet to make space for the new things that are coming. It might be an impulse to read a certain book in which you find the exact piece of information you need. The conscious mind, which thinks in straight lines, may not understand the logic of these actions. The urge to clean a closet may seem completely unrelated to your desire for a new career. But the deeper mind, the God within you, knows the entire pattern. It knows that the man you need to meet works at the charity where you will donate your old clothes. It sees the entire intricate tapestry. Your job is not to see the whole pattern, but simply to follow the thread you are given in this moment. This is true faith. Faith is not just believing your desire will come to pass. It is trusting the inspired movements you are guided to make, even when you do not understand their full significance. Let us contrast this with another case. A gentleman I knew desired a promotion. He imagined being in the new office. He felt the reality of it. But he did not keep the Sabbath. He immediately fell into forced action. He began to work unnecessarily long hours to prove his worth. He engaged in office politics, trying to manipulate situations to his advantage. He was filled with tension, and his colleagues began to see him as desperate and ambitious in a negative way. His actions, born of fear that his imaginal act was not enough, actually created an atmosphere that made his promotion impossible. He was swimming frantically against the current of his own good. The action itself, working hard, is not the issue. The issue is the state of consciousness from which the action springs. You can perform the very same action from two different states and achieve two completely different results. Action taken from the state of trying to get is struggle. Action taken from the state of already having is creative expression. It is play. It is the effortless dance of fulfillment. So, how do you cultivate this? You do it by being ever watchful of your inner state. When you have an impulse to act, pause for a moment and check your feeling. Does it feel tense, anxious, driven by a need to make something happen? If so, that is the old man of forced action. Do nothing. Return to your imagination. Reassume the state of the wish fulfilled, and remain there until you have entered the Sabbath, the state of peace. If, however, the impulse to act feels natural, easy, and right, even if it seems small or illogical, then that is the voice of inspiration. That is the next step on your bridge of incidents. Follow it without hesitation and without question. In the end, you will come to realize that you are the central character in a divine play that you have written, produced, and are directing yourself. Your assumption of the wish fulfilled is the writing of the script. The world is the stage, and your inspired actions are you, the magnificent actor, simply hitting your marks and speaking your lines. There is no struggle. You are not trying to remember your lines. You know them, because they are the natural expression of the character you have assumed yourself to be. Cease, therefore, from all anxious doing. The work, the real work, is done on the inside. Master your inner world of assumption and revision, and learn to rest in the quiet confidence of the Sabbath. Then, move through your world with your eyes and ears open, not looking for your good, but ready to act when the impulse comes that is the herald of your good. You will find that your life becomes a graceful and effortless journey. You will act with wisdom and power, not because you are trying to be wise and powerful, but because you are being the person for whom such actions are natural. This is the life of the awakened man, the life of the conscious creator. It is a life not of making things happen, but of allowing them to happen. We have traveled together through the mysterious and wonderful landscape of the mind. We began our journey as sleepwalkers, believing ourselves to be victims of a world of chance and circumstance. We were characters in a play we did not write, tossed about by the storms of fate. But then the awakening began. We took hold of the first great truth, that our consciousness is the only reality, and that the world we perceive is but a mirror to the being we are within. From that foundation we learn to build. We were given the master key of assumption, learning to feel the reality of our wish fulfilled. We were handed the divine tool of revision, discovering that the past is not fixed and can be reshaped to create a noble foundation for a glorious future. We learned to enter the sacred stillness of the Sabbath, releasing our finished creation to the infinite wisdom of the subconscious mind. And finally, we understood the true nature of action, not the anxious struggle of the world, but the effortless, inspired action that flows from a state of fulfillment. Each of these principles is a pillar in the temple of your true self. But what do they all support? What is the great overarching truth to which they all point? It is this, and I want you to hear it not as a phrase, but as your own identity. You are the operant power. There is no power outside of you. There is no deity in the sky to whom you must plead. There is no fate written in the stars that you must endure. There is only one cause for the phenomena of your life, and that cause is your own consciousness. You are the God of your reality. Your own wonderful human imagination is the one and only creative force. This is the ultimate secret. This is the pearl of great price. Let us go to the very heart of this mystery, to the name of God given to Moses in the scripture. When Moses asked, "Whom shall I say sent me?" the voice replied, "Tell them I am has sent you." And then, I am, that I am. For centuries, man has misinterpreted this, believing it to be the name of an external being. But I tell you, I am is the name of your own awareness. It is your very consciousness. It is the one and only reality. You are at this very moment saying, I am. You cannot escape it. Before you say, I am a man, I am a woman, I am rich, or I am poor, you are first and fundamentally, I am. This I am is the formless creative power. Whatever you attach to it, you give life to. It is the fertile soil, and the words and feelings that follow I am are the seeds you plant within it. When you say, I am sick, you are commanding your world to reflect sickness. When you say, I am struggling, you are decreeing a reality of struggle for yourself. The world has no choice but to obey. For your I am, your consciousness is its one and only lawgiver. Do you see the profound implication of this? This is the moment of ultimate responsibility. The moment you truly accept that you are the operant power, the age of blame comes to an end. You can no longer look to the government, to the economy, to your parents, to your spouse, or to a capricious God and say, you did this to me. This realization can be terrifying at first. It is the moment the child realizes he is alone in the house and must now be the adult. But after the initial shock comes the most glorious liberation a human being can ever experience. For if you are the cause of your own misfortune, then you can, by that same power, be the cause of your own magnificent destiny. If your own hands have unconsciously built your prison, then your own hands can consciously build your palace. There is no one to change but self. This is the truth you must live by. Do you desire a more loving world? Then you must become more loving. Do you desire abundance? Then you must assume the consciousness of abundance. The world is a mirror. It is powerless to change itself. It can only wait patiently for you, the one and only reality, to change. I recall a profound moment in my own life. I was facing a series of challenges that seemed insurmountable. The facts of Caesar's world were arrayed against me like an army, and in a moment of despair, I found myself doing what all sleeping men do. I was blaming. I was looking for a cause outside of myself. And then in a flash of insight, this truth blazed within me. There was no one else. There was no other cause. Every single fact Every challenging person, every obstacle was nothing more than a projection of a state of consciousness I had been entertaining within myself. In that moment, I did not feel guilt. I felt a power I had never known. I felt a freedom that was absolute. I realized I did not have to fight the army of facts. I only had to change the general giving the orders, and the general was my own I am. That night, I turned my back on the battlefield of the world. I went within. I assumed the feeling of my wish fulfilled with an intensity and a conviction born of this new understanding. And I watched in the days and weeks that followed as that army of problems dissolved, not by being defeated, but by being transformed into allies. The world rearranged itself to conform to my new assumption. It had no choice. This is the power you must now claim. You must learn to live as the operant power, and this is how you do it. You practice what I call a mental diet. Just as you would not eat poison, you must refuse to entertain thoughts and feelings that are poisonous to your ideal. You must become a vigilant gatekeeper of your mind. When a thought of fear or doubt presents itself, you do not fight it. You simply observe it, and then you consciously and deliberately replace it with the thought you wish to entertain. You revise the moment. You practice this all day long. The average man is a mental glutton, consuming every negative suggestion from the morning paper and the evening news, every fearful opinion from his neighbors, and then he wonders why his life is in a state of disarray. You, the awakened creator, must be different. You must feed your mind only on the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You must constantly ask yourself, in the state of my ideal, what thoughts would I be thinking? What feelings would I be feeling? And you think and feel only those. You must learn to live in a state of perpetual forgiveness, not forgiving others for what they have done to you, for they did nothing. They only played the part you assigned them, but forgiving yourself for the unconscious use of your own power. You forgive yourself by revising the scenes of the past, by creating a noble history from which your ideal future can be born. And above all, you must have the courage to stand firm in your assumption, even when the whole world denies it. The world is the past. It is the shadow of old assumptions. Your imaginal act is the living reality that is pressing to be born. You must be like a loving mother who protects the child in her womb from the doubts and fears of the world. You must protect your assumption. You must remain loyal to your unseen reality. This is your great commission. Your divine purpose is not to amass wealth or fame for its own sake. Your purpose is to awaken to your true identity as the operant power, as God playing the part of man. And in so doing, you demonstrate to a sleeping world that they are not the poor, helpless creatures they believe themselves to be, but that they too are the sons and daughters of God, endowed with the same creative power. Every time you successfully manifest a desire, you are not just helping yourself. You are a beacon. You are a testament to the Lord. You are helping to awaken all of humanity. So, as we conclude our time together, I charge you with this. Go forth, not as students who have learned the theory, but as masters who are now ready to practice the art of living. The empire you seek to build already exists as a potential within you. Your task is to bring it forth through the creative power of your imagination. The challenges you face are not punishments. They are the very tools by which your character will be tempered and your empire will be built. As you leave this place today, carry with you the knowledge that you are already the emperor of your own consciousness. The throne is yours to claim. The crown is yours to wear. Step into this role with the grace and confidence of one who knows his own divinity. Remember, the world is waiting for your unique gifts, for the beauty that only you can create. Do not keep it waiting any longer. Live from the end. Revise your yesterday. Cease all anxious effort and keep the Sabbath, and move through your world in the effortless, inspired action of the one who knows it is finished. The kingdom of heaven is truly within you. All the love, all the wisdom, all the abundance you could ever desire is already yours. You need only to claim it, to assume it, to embody it. For you are the operant power. You are the beginning and the end. You are the Alpha and the Omega of your own world. Now go and be the creator of your world. For in the words of the immortal bard, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. You, my friends, are not merely a player in this grand drama. You are the playwright, the director, and the glorious star of your own magnificent story. Write it well, direct it with purpose, and play your part with all the passion and conviction you can muster. The curtain rises on your new life. Now, step onto the stage of your transformed reality with the unshakable knowledge that you are the author of your destiny. It is done. The journey of awakening does not end here. It begins. What you have received tonight is a blueprint. Now the joyous work of building your reality commences. To continue surrounding yourself with this truth, to remain in this state of empowerment, I invite you to join this community of creators. Subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell, for our work together has only just begun. Share this message with one person you know who is ready to awaken to their true power. You are the architect of reality. Now go and build your magnificent world.